Adventurous kids explore with education and learning what a wild life is in the Everglades. I want to explore the Museum of Discovering Science. What plants do butterflies like? I want to know about Key West. Adventurous kids, learning and fun. Adventurous kids!
Today I'm going to tell you about Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a portmanteau of June and 19th, also known as Freedom Day, Jubilee Day, and Liberation Day. It is a holiday celebrating the liberation of those who had been held as slaves in the United States. Originally a Texas state holiday, it is now celebrated annually on the 19th of June throughout the United States with varying official recognition. Specifically, it commemorates Union Army General Gordon Granger announcing federal orders in Galveston, Texas on June 19, 1865, proclaiming that all people held as slaves in Texas were freed. This is the oldest known holiday that commemorates the end of slavery in the U.S. The history of Juneteenth is the Emancipation Proclamation was issued by Abraham Lincoln on September 22, 1862. It went into effect on January 1863, declaring that all enslaved persons in the Confederate States of America in rebellion and not in Union hands were to be freed. However, slaves were not set free in the Confederacy until Union Army was able to come and take over on June 18th, 1865. Union Army arrived in Galveston, Texas the next day on June 19th. General Gordon Granger announced that the slaves in Texas were free by order of the President of the United States. Former slaves in Galveston celebrated that day. They were set free. The first Juneteenth celebration took place the very next year. The annual celebration began to spread throughout Texas and surrounding states. However, it became less popular in the early 1900s. It became popular once again in the 1950s and 1960s. In 1980, it became an official state holiday in Texas. There is currently a movement to get the day recognized on a national level. More isolated geographical planters and other slaveholders had migrated into Texas from eastern states to escape the fighting, and many brought enslaved people with them, increasing by the thousands the enslaved population in the state at the end of the Civil War. Although most lived in rural areas, more than 1,000 resided in both Galveston and Houston by 1860, and several hundred in other large towns by 1865. There were an estimated 250,000 enslaved people in Texas. The news of General Robert E. Lee's surrender on April 9th, 1865, reached Texas later in the month. The Western Army of the Trans-Mississippi did not surrender until June 2nd. On June 18th, Union Army General Gordon Granger arrived at Galveston Island with 2,000 federal troops to occupy Texas on behalf of the federal government. The following day, standing on the balcony of Galveston's Ashton Villa, Granger read aloud the contents of General Order Number 3, announcing the total emancipation of those held as slaves. Although this event popularly thought as the end of slavery, the Emancipation Proclamation did not apply to those enslaved in a Union-held territory who would not be freed until a proclamation several months later. On December 18, 1865, the 13th Amendment had been ratified. On December 6, 1865 for the freedom of the formerly enslaved people in Texas was given legal status in a series of Texas Supreme Court decisions between 1868 and 1874. In the early 20th century, the economic and political forces led to a decline in Juneteenth celebrations. From 1890 to 1908, Texas and all former Confederate states passed new constitutions or amendments that effectively disenfranchised black people, excluding them from the political process. White-dominated state legislators passed Jim Crow laws imposing second-class status. 70,000 people attended the Juneteenth Jamboree in 1951, 1940 through 1970, and the second wave of the Great Migration. More than 5 million black people left Texas, Louisiana, and other parts of the South on North and West Coast. As historian Isabel Wilkerson writes, people from Texas took Juneteenth Day to Los Angeles, Oakland, Seattle, and other places they went. In 1945, Juneteenth was introduced in San Francisco by an immigrant from Texas, Wesley Johnson. In the late 1970s, the Texas legislature declared Juneteenth a holiday of significance, and particularly to the blacks of Texas. It was the first state to establish Juneteenth as a state holiday under legislation introduced by freshman Democratic State Representative Al Edwards. The law passed through the Texas legislature in 1979 and was officially made a state holiday on January 1st, 1980. Juneteenth is a partial staffing holiday in Texas. Government offices do not close, but agencies may operate with reduced staff, and employees may either celebrate this holiday or substitute it with one or four optional holidays recognized in Texas in the late 1980s. Then there were major celebrations of Juneteenth in California, Wisconsin, Illinois, Georgia, and Washington, D.C. in 2020. State governors of Pennsylvania, Virginia, and New York signed an executive order recognizing Juneteenth as a paid day of leave for state employees. Since the 1980s and 1990s, the holiday has been more widely celebrated among African American communities and has been increasing mainstreaming in the U.S. in 1991. There was an exhibition by the Anacostia Museum of the Smithsonian Institution called Juneteenth 1991 Freedom Revisited. In 1994, a group of community leaders gathered at the Christian Unity Baptist Church in New Orleans work for their national celebration of Juneteenth. Expatriates have celebrated it in cities abroad, such as Paris. In 2018, Apple added Juneteenth to its calendars on iOS under the official U.S. holidays. In 2020, Google Calendars added Juneteenth to its U.S. holiday calendars. In 2020, in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic and the worldwide protests sparked by the police killing of George Floyd, controversy ensued when it emerged that Donald Trump had scheduled his first political rally since the pandemic's outbreak for Juneteenth in an area in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was the site of the 1921 base massacring the Greenwood District. In the response to the controversy, the rally was rescheduled for the following day. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Trump said, "I did something good. I made Juneteenth very famous. It's actually an important event, an important time, but nobody had ever heard of it." Recognition of Juneteenth carried across the United States. It is not recognized by the federal government. Most states recognize it in some way, either as a ceremonial observance or as a state holiday. Some designate it as a paid day off for state employees. Some cities have recognized it through proclamation. There's a variety of businesses have policies allowing employees to take the day off after Texas recognized the date in 1980. Many states followed suit. By 2002, 8 states officially recognized Juneteenth, and 4 years later, in 15 states recognized the holiday. By 2008, nearly half the United States observed the holiday as a ceremonial observance. The holiday is considered the longest running African American holiday, and it has been called America's second Independence Day. It is often celebrated on the third Sunday in June. Historian Mitch Ketchum considers that celebrations of the end of slavery have 3 goals: celebrate, to educate, to agitate. Observance is primarily in local celebrations. In many places, Juneteenth has become a multicultural holiday. Traditions include the public reading of the Emancipation Proclamation, singing traditional songs as Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, and lift every voice and sing, and reading of works noted by African American writers such as Ralph Ellison and Maya Angelou. Celebrations include picnics, rodeo, street fairs, cookouts, family reunions, park parties, historical reenactments, blues festivals, and this Juneteenth contest. Strawberry soda is a traditional drink associated with the celebration. The Mascago's descendants of the Black Seminoles. The Hula, Mexico also celebrates Juneteenth. Some cities and groups have the Miss Juneteenth contest. Juneteenth is the title of a book by author Ralph Ellison. Another book by Carol Meyer and Anne Rinaldi also center around the day. There is a Juneteenth flag of freedom. It is half red and half blue, with a star in the middle. Each year, a Juneteenth flag raising ceremony is held in Galveston. Juneteenth celebrations often include lectures and exhibitions on African American culture. Thanks for watching the Adventurous Kids episode.
What did you learn today? Adventurous Kids. Adventurous Kids. What was the most interesting fact? Adventurous Kids. Adventurous Kids. Adventurous Kids.